my journey creating a 5-pillar plan for me to use in my own financial life and realizing that it might be helpful to other people too. So I'll go through that 5-pillar framework really quickly, and you can also see it over at www.moneymind.global. So this 5-pillar framework is money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Once again, because I often mess that up thanks to my dyscalculia or numbers dyslexia, it seems to creep out when I'm trying to count things. Okay, obviously, I do this so often and I make that mistake so often. Anyhow, oh, my hay fever. And my dyscalculia. Oh, it's all complaints today. So, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. What I realized is if we are going through life and have a lot of gaps in our financial foundations, we kind of feel like we're sort of trying to do stuff, but feeling a little bit insecure about the basic foundations. Like maybe we don't know what we don't know and feel like there's a lot of information out there that is a bit overwhelming, and we don't know if we're making mistakes. And that makes us a bit paranoid that, am I saving enough? Am I investing enough? It just seems like there's so much information overload. So that's what I experienced. And then when I went through a situation where I had the gaps in my financial knowledge exposed, which was going through building, startup life with my husband, right? So he founded a financial, oh my God, my hair is so bad. He founded a fintech, wow, really bad, fintech startup. And as a result, we were in startup mode for a while, and it really revealed the gaps in my financial knowledge. And so I created this 5-pillar framework in order to be able to give myself the cleanup. It's kind of like Marie Kondo framework for my financial basics, really. And so I realized that all I needed to do was make sure that each of these areas was tidy, and if they weren't tidy, then start to move in the direction of tidying them. And suddenly my financial confidence really started to develop roots and grow. And I was able to get to know myself a lot better and find my style in each of these areas. Now, today is the launch of the savings pillar. I should have taken an antihistamine snort. I take the pills, but then I need to take the snort in the day too. Oh, Hong Kong is such a dusty place. Oh my gosh. But the savings pillar is launching today. And so you can go and access that now. And you can go to moneymind.global, the website, and click all courses. And then you can see the savings pillar there. That's 1 hour. And if you don't want to dive into a 1-hour pillar for $49 that will change your savings life if you haven't never done anything in this area before, then you can try the free sampler first. And that's 10 minutes free sampler in the savings sampler. And it will just ask you 3 questions, which we talked about on yesterday's live broadcast. So if you're not sure about diving into the 10-minute free sampler, then you can watch yesterday's live broadcast and see that we walk through it with the answers that we mention in the free sampler as well. If you just find that easier, just press on the broadcast from yesterday and give it a go. It's quite long though. It's longer than 10 minutes. So it might be easier to do the free sampler than to watch the whole broadcast. But also, if you go over to our blog, you go to the website, click blog, and you'll see that there is a blog post with a summary video there as well. So you can have a lot of different options on how to find that information, see if it's right for you. So today's savings pillar is launched, and what we're doing is we're launching each of these pillars sequentially so we can have a month's worth of diving into them and getting into the flow of the business being live and talking to you and having discussions about these topics. So last month was money mindsets. This month is savings. Next month is budgeting. The following month is investing. And then it's finally wills and legacy, the shortest pillar and the easiest to complete in the shortest amount of time, really. So what I recommend doing is if you've never really approached your financial stability foundations before, you can use this 5-pillar checklist right now, like this instant, and ask yourself, am I comfortable and confident in my money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy? And just ask yourself, if there's any area that you're not, start looking into it, start improving it. At least you know that about yourself. So it helps to highlight where you're at and also increase self-awareness of what you're doing right now and the steps that you might want to take to adjust those areas. So for example, money mindsets, do you think a lot of limiting money thoughts, or do you have growth mindsets in this area? For the savings, are you comfortable with the amount of savings that you're saving? And we're going to go into 3 avoidable savings mistakes in this broadcast. With your budgeting, are you avoiding budgeting, or are you like super awesome at it? If you're super awesome at it, then please share your tips for being super awesome at it. But the chances are that you might be a saver with a personality that suits budgeting in a certain way, and you've already gone that path. For those of us who are avoiding budgeting, we could find that we could do the budgeting pillar or free sampler and approach budgeting in a very different way to feeling restrained or constricted by just expense tracking first, and then maybe using the no budget, which is an actual budget where you allocate a certain amount to savings, a certain amount to necessities, and then spend the rest. So that might be the way that you end up budgeting if you're avoiding budgeting, which is pretty easy, really. All you have to do is expense track and then allocate monthly, and then you're set. I know a few people who do that type of budgeting style, and it works because they end up with savings and they have their necessities covered, and then they don't have to feel limited on the other areas of spending. So in the investing area, this is topics that we might want to know about before diving into investing, including like the CABS categories that I created, which is cash, alternatives, bonds, and stocks, which are areas that we might end up investing in. There's no advice, just opinions in this area of things that I didn't know before I started investing and would have found interesting to know, like the rule of 72 on how long it takes to double your investment, or compound interest and passive income. That type of stuff we cover in the investing pillar. So you can try the free sampler or the paid pillar soon enough. You can buy the paid pillar now if you like and be on like pre-sale. So the wills and legacy pillar, this is the easiest one to get done, but it's actually an area that a lot of us sort of procrastinate until later and then end up not doing it for years, years and years. So these two have that kind of similarity as well. We don't feel as like emotionally distraught about them, but we'll kind of put them off a little bit. So they like, it's sort of like in this sort of order. So we'll often tend to avoid wills and legacy the most because for some reason we think like really fallaciously that we're going to die if we do our will. I did my will at 21. I'm not dead. So I've done my will again since then and I'm not dead either. So wills and legacy we kind of like put off until later the most, even though it is actually the fastest to do. So you can do it in like 1 hour. And if you need to sort out some stuff, then you can do it in within a week for sure. For sure. If you actually allocated like 1 weekend, you were like, okay, I'm just going to spend Saturday and I'm actually going to just approach this. It's like a basic will. You're going to be done in like an hour, maybe 2 hours. You only need the points of executor and beneficiaries. That's it. And you just go to a lawyer and get it done. So simple, so easy. You need a will if you're over 18 or your family will be messed up in probate trying to argue that they are your family and that you wanted them to access your stuff. And the government will say, well, if that person wanted you to be in charge of their stuff, they would have left a will. And your family's like, well, I don't know why they didn't. And you're like, oh, damn, I don't know why I didn't. And it's just really awkward. So that can go on for years. Your family's struggling to pay legal fees and trying to argue, like, no, we have the rights to this. And the government's like, well, they didn't leave a will, so you clearly don't. So it's like, it's just a mess. Get a will. So wills, investing, budgeting, savings. So that's why it's kind of in this order. On money mindsets, we're pretty aware of like, we can clean up if we have negative money beliefs, if we know how we feel about money. Generally, any of us can say, I feel roughly good or bad about money, or I have weird emotions about it, like maybe money is the root of all evil, or I feel greedy if I want more money, or I feel like I can't do sales, or whatever it may be. I've overcome a lot of these areas, and I still listen to life coaching every morning in money, online business, and general overall life and mindset coaching from Natalie Bacon. So, this area I'm constantly working on and improving at myself. And this savings pillar is the next one because all of us know of savings, and a lot of us think that savings is just putting money into a savings account and like leaving it there regularly. And actually, we can make really big mistakes if we just think that that is all that savings is, because it is, but it isn't. So say you're getting income and you say, oh, okay, I'm going to put, 10% to 20% of my income, which is the recommended average, towards savings. In Money Mind, we actually recommend a higher amount because Money Mind's plan can be used from when you first start your journey, bit of a financial mess, until you start growing wealth and start going in that stable, like growing like foundational wealth, financial freedom kind of wealth direction. You can still apply these principles of Money Mind as you go along that journey. So we actually recommend 25% savings because it's quite aggressive, but still feasible to aim for. And you can then apply it as you keep going, and that will start converting into really great savings amounts and really great investing amounts, which are the keys to building wealth. So savings is a pretty important pillar because a lot of us don't realize if we're just chucking savings at a savings account, it's sitting there depreciating pretty quickly. And that will eat away. It's like a little rat that eats at our money. So you leave the money in the bank, right? A little rat comes in, starts eating at it, and will eat at it every year until it gets lower and lower. So what we need to do is we need to have strategies in place so that we don't end up losing most of that money to depreciation. So the 3 avoidable saving mistakes that can actually cost us like thousands or even tens of thousands over years if we're making them are these: no emergency fund, no expense tracking, and not investing. Okay? So, no emergency fund, not expense tracking, and not investing. I've written a blog about this that will be up after this broadcast. And then I also have a little summary video where I'll talk about this too. And the big mistakes that we make with these 3 avoidable savings mistakes: no emergency fund means that we end up putting ourselves at risk of having to go into debt if an emergency happens. So an emergency fund needs to be 3 to 6 months of necessity expenses, accessible somewhere in cash, that is accessible within 24 hours by either party in a relationship. So the emergency fund mistake is a big one because if you don't have an emergency fund, suddenly you may have to access investments, you may have to go into debt. It can just be a cycle that is totally avoidable if you have an emergency fund. So if you don't know what your 3 to 6 months necessity expenses are, you can start saving, but you can also start doing point 2, expense tracking. So expense tracking is what we want to be doing to just keep an eye on where our money is going. Because if you don't keep an eye on your money and you don't treat it well, it's like a cat that you don't feed. It will wander off and find a new home. Money is like that. Money will go away. So you have to treat money respectfully in order to keep money. And if you look after it well and work on growing it, then you'll get more money. If you neglect or avoid money, it'll leave. And frankly, that stands for like a lot of us too. Like in our relationships, in our life, if someone is really like avoiding and neglecting us, we're going to leave that relationship. Like even a friendship, we don't want to be friends with someone who's avoiding and neglecting us. And our money, even though this is, anthropomorphication max, it doesn't want to stay with us if we're going to be avoiding and neglecting it. Like who would? I wouldn't. You wouldn't. It's just, we got to look after our money. And we got to put it to work doing something that it wants to be doing and is good at doing, like growing into more money, right? Otherwise, it's growing into more money for someone else. That's how it goes. So If we don't have an emergency fund, we need to get one. If we're not expense tracking, we can start expense tracking by today just writing down what we spend, then tally the total amount of that day. Keep doing it for 2 or 3 days and keep the tally of each day, how much you spend total that day, and then the running tally of how much you spend over those 3 days. Just keep doing that for a week and then continue for a month. So make your only goal to do expense tracking every day for like 1 week. And then the next week, make your goal to do it for that week as well, or just for today. You can make your goal just today and then make that the same goal tomorrow, because really all our life and future is a bunch of todays that we're doing today, which is a whole other topic. But what we want to be doing is noticing when we're expense tracking that we're doing it and noticing where we have big or small expenses without judgment. Okay, this has to be just writing down numbers, and if you actually don't want to pay it any attention at all, that is absolutely fine, because just by expense tracking, you will start to notice that you are developing some confidence by just doing this thing for yourself that is a responsible thing to do. Even if you're not looking at the numbers or paying attention to the totals or anything like that, you're just writing down what you're spending. That can start to develop your confidence in you doing what is right for your financial future and your financial life. That confidence boost is an unexpected side effect of starting to expense track. If you're avoiding budgeting or you're not expense tracking, this is the easiest hack to get really good results in that area, because it's not always going to be like super easy, but it's something that is going to be very beneficial for the amount of effort that you put in. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it may not be as beneficial exercise wise as like going on a massive hike, but if you were just to choose like a salad instead of a huge pasta, that is still an easier decision, but it does have a smaller positive impact that's still a positive impact. So we want to do a lot of those little tiny impacts, right? We don't want to try and dive into a massive budget or suddenly be like the expert budgeter, right? From nothing. We want to just start expense tracking. So this is something that a lot of people fail to do. And if you're already in a budget, like it's a no budget budget, then this is totally fine. You can just be on that budget and you know your style. But if you don't know your budget style and you haven't been expense tracking, this can cost you a lot of money, because money will just wander off. Let me tell you, I have a lot of money that intentionally, admittedly, goes towards ASOS and shopping, which is great, but also I know that like I spend a lot on ASOS, especially at the moment, because I'm like, oh, the seasons are changing and I want to actually just commit to my body shape and buy high-waisted trousers, because frankly, I'm kind of a potato and I like eating a lot. And so I'm just going to have to accept my body shape, and high-waisted trousers help me do that. In a similar style, we want to accept our money personality. And if we are a spender, not try and shove ourselves into like an extreme budget that's good for savers. We want to accept our money personality, just like we want to accept our body type. And we want to do things and take actions and choose styles that will suit our money personality, instead of like me trying to wear like low-waisted or normal-waisted trousers that my belly just hangs over muffin top style, right? I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why don't I just wear like high-waisted trousers? I don't know why. And it's just that I'm trying to be something that is not me. Okay, admittedly, these particular trousers are just really, really comfy trousers. They just happen to be that height. But the point is that I've said, actually, you know what? I'm just going to change all my trousers to just high-waisted. And I have a lot of high-waisted for going out, but even just my homeware trousers, generally, I'm like, I'm just going to commit to doing what is right for my type. And we have to be comfortable making that change, or at least recognizing it in our money life. So expense tracking, if we're not doing that, is a way, if we're avoiding budgeting or we're just not paying attention to it, to just get on top of it with a minimal effort. We can do this on paper. I use an app called I Expense It, and that shows little, it's free on the Apple Store, and then you can upgrade if you like, but it has little pie charts and little graphs and things which make it easy to see different sections of where you're spending, like say ASOS, right? And then like coffee. So the third mistake that people make in terms of avoidable savings mistakes of no emergency fund, not expense tracking, and not investing is not investing, and therefore losing cash with real depreciation and inflation. So in the bank, your money's sitting there. The little rat of inflation is eating at it. You need to be doing stuff where your money is trying to grow on top of that savings amount. So you want to have savings, but you also want to have investing amounts that might have a chance of growing bigger while this is being nibbled at. And that's why people take on the risk to invest. And it's up to us to know our risk profiling questionnaire, which you can do free at the bank, which shows you your risk tolerance, and also to choose a style of investing and areas of investing that will work for us. And I'm never going to advise on this because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm considering getting a financial coaching certification. Yay! But that will simply be to help people make their own choices, not giving advice. And you need to be comfortable and confident with the choices you make. That is always the goal of Money Mind, is to empower people to feel comfortable and confident with their own choices. And that includes investing. If you are waiting for somebody else to look after your money and do a great job, the money will wander off. It may do okay, but you need to be comfortable with the choices you're making and be sure that at least you trust and are comfortable and confident with your investor advisor, with your financial advisor, or with how it's going about. A lot of us will avoid investing because we don't feel like we know enough about it. But the basics of investing are not that hard to get your head around and actually just say, oh, I just didn't realize that this was not as complicated as I thought. So in the investing pillar that's going to be out in a few months, that investing pillar is really interesting for me to have created based on what I didn't realize how simple investing was in terms of the basic fundamental stuff that I would like to know before I had started investing. So that includes like the CABS categories of cash, alternatives, bonds, and stocks, and then different model portfolio options. Like if I was a conservative investor and I wanted just this conservative model portfolio, I can totally just choose that and then just say, oh, I'm just going to invest regularly into that model portfolio, and then I'm going to invest into this slightly higher risk, or whatever it may match my risk tolerance profile. So I didn't realize that it was actually that simple to be able to do investing. I thought that it was a lot more complicated, and it can be if we choose to go that path, right? It's like any area. If I choose to study psychology, which I'm hoping to do next year as well, I like my study, then that's going to be interesting on that level. Psychology 101 is going to be interesting on Psychology 101 level. Now, if I choose to take it up a few notches to cognitive psychology specializations and neuropsychology specializations, those are going to be a little bit more intense. And it's not going to be for everyone to dive straight into neuropsychology. But with finance, we think that we need to know all this stuff about investing that is like really master's degree or PhD level. Like we don't need to know the financial industry stuff. We just need to know personal finance basics, which are actually much simpler than I feel like I realized based on a lot of conversations with a lot of people. I was like, why does this seem so complicated? And then I realized through creating my own 5-pillar framework, it's not. It's just that people either are they're investing for work and they're work finance people, or the basics of personal finance are really so simple that people don't even bother to talk about them, like budgeting, saving, investing. they're so boring. People are like, oh, well, just invest your money somewhere. And you're like, well, how? And how do I do that? And what do I choose? And do I pick single stocks? And do I pick, like, can I buy a model portfolio? Do I have to go through someone? Like, there's just a lot of questions and I couldn't get answers from anybody. It was super, super annoying. So I decided to just create my investing pillar based on the stuff that just I wish I'd known before going into investing. And then I could take the next steps to start researching the ways that I was the most interested. So, say if I were to not have known in the investing pillar about getting my risk profiling questionnaire done, then it would benefit me to go to my bank, get a risk profiling questionnaire done, and then see what it is. And from there, I could say what kind of model portfolio might suit me. And they might say, oh, well, you would suit like a 70% stocks and a 30% bond. And there suddenly I'm like 10 steps ahead of where I was just from going to do that one thing that I may not have known that it was that simple to do. So if you have no idea about this area of investing, just try the free samplers. And you can just try the free investing sampler. It's 10 minutes. It will just ask 3 questions and you can see where you're at in that area. See if you know the stuff that you want to know. And if not, then you can start researching on your own. You can buy the paid pillar, which is $49 at this point. It's like super amazing price on the market, given that financial coaching is like $100 to $600 an hour. So it's just really great value to just give you some insight to be able to take the next steps forward. Like, I spend $49 this month on ASOS on like 2 pairs of trousers, right? And that's me. And I choose to do that because I spend most of my time working and I can't do other stuff and I don't leave the house. But the point is that investing in ourselves and investing in our future in the easiest way possible is what all of this money mind social enterprise is about. It's about helping us to feel like, oh, this was quite easy. So the 5-pillar framework of money mindsets, savings, investing, budgeting, investing, and wills and legacy. See, I did it again. Money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. This 5-pillar framework we can just use as a checklist right now. We can try the free samplers, we can buy the paid pillars, and we can walk through changing our financial foundations within like 5 weeks. So say if you were to choose to do, if you said, you know what, I'm sick of my financial life being a bit of a mess, I want to tidy up the foundations of it, I would just do like the full 5-pillar bundle, which is like $188, which saves $57, which is quite a lot. But I would just do this for 1 week. So each pillar, and I'd apply it intensely for 1 week. I'd apply the money mindsets pillar for 1 week and really work at it. And then the savings pillar for 1 week and really work at it. And by the time you go through the 5 pillars, each for 1 week, you will find that where you were at and where you have arrived are quite different places. And that is the cool thing about these 5 pillars. It took me ages to work out this concept and be able to apply it in my own life because I had created it and I had to put it together. But then I realized that it was actually very plug and play, which is why I'm sharing it with other people through MoneyMind. That's why I created MoneyMind, because I was like, okay, with digital payments and everything, we just need to be on top of this area. So a lot of us are making headway in a lot of areas in our financial life, but kind of suspect that our foundations are a little bit creaky. And if that's you, best value way to clean it up, or just try the free samplers and use those to clean it up. Whatever works for you. Our mission at MoneyMind is for you to feel more confident and empowered. That's why our social enterprise is a mission-based business. It's kind of like a charity, but it's not non-profit. It's for profit because this is financial literacy. So we want people to learn how to invest in themselves and take the steps to move forward in their own financial life and start to self-empower. Because what we don't want is to expect that other people will be able to have all the answers for our money. We need to learn with our money how to make our own choices, be comfortable and confident with the decisions that we make and our reasons for making them. Because that's all that matters. if we decide to make an investment in something that goes belly up, at least we've learned stuff and that we're comfortable in our confident and comfortable in our decision to do so. Like, we invested in something and I was like, this is great in the risk category of investment. And I was like, okay, try it, knowing that we might lose everything. And we did. And I was like, that was a good experience. We lost quite a lot of money. I'm not going to mention how much money, but it was quite a lot of money. And I'm totally cool with that because of the fact that I was comfortable and confident in that decision. And then I also looked at the benefits of having done that and the experience gained. So then I asked, would I have paid that price for that experience? And the answer is, yeah, I probably would have. I mean, it would have been great if it had been a lower price, but the benefit that we gained from that experience has far outweighed the cost of that experience multiple times over. And that's how feeling comfortable and confident can work, because it means we have our own back with decisions that we make, and we can tidy up, like Marie Kondo, our personal finance life, and make sure that we're just okay in the financial stability basics and able to build on top of that however we like. So rounding up our avoidable savings mistakes, please fix these gaps if you're making them. Go check out our blog that will talk about like the solutions and then the pillars that you can try with the links to the free samplers if you like. And they are no emergency fund, not expense tracking, and not investing. You can avoid these savings mistakes that can cost you thousands or tens of thousands over years by just starting to build your emergency fund 3 to 6 months, expense tracking starting today and just tally and keep going, and not investing, start educating yourself about investing and go get a risk profiling questionnaire done at the bank for free. See what investing style might work for you. Get to know yourself a bit better, and hopefully that will help you avoid any other big money mistakes that cost you money. Thanks so much for joining. I'm Raven. I'll see you next time.